Welcome to the Los Olivos Wine Merchant and Cafe, where you not only get to taste California's Central Coast wines, but you also get to meet the winemakers. Today, I am speaking with Ryan Carr of Carr, Vineyard, and Winery. Ryan, if you can sum yourself up in one word, an element of your personality that gets infused into your wines, sets it apart from all the others, what part of your personality would you say? What word would that be?
It's definitely a tough question, but I'd say if I have to pick one, in order to get into the wine industry, you got to be adventurous. So I'd say adventurous.
Adventurous. That's great. I like that. Adventurous wines. If you can just tell everybody a little bit about your background, how you got into winemaking, maybe start with what you did before winemaking.
Certainly.
And how that helps you with what you do now.
Yeah. Winemaking's been an adventure over the years. Just lots of different things got me here. So started out in making snowboards when I was really young. Worked for an individual who was quite brilliant and taught me a lot of different skills that I've definitely still used today. I did actually study graphic design and plant science while I was in college. I went to the University of Arizona and gained a lot of knowledge there in many different ways as well.
Do you design your wine labels?
I do still use my degree. I do a lot of our artwork.
Save a lot of money doing
There's no
that.
doubt. Designers are expensive. I tried to get into that when I first moved out to the Valley and did a couple of things here and there, some labels and some t-shirts and hats and things like that, but it never really took off. And then before you know it, I was introduced to the wine industry itself. I got in on the farming side. I had a little bit of background from when I was in college, working as a landscaper with irrigation and things like that. But I started working for a gentleman by the name of Craig McMillan, and he got me interested in farming. It was a great escape from the computer, getting outside, and I just fell in love with being in the field. And before you knew it, I was helping him lay out vineyards and plant vineyards. And he was also making wine at the time, and he had a gentleman working for him by the name of Andy Kahn, who became a very good friend of mine, who was making his own wine as well. And then as Andy and my relationship developed, he basically found out that I had an interest in making wine as well, and he helped me get started. I actually made my first batch of wine in my garage in a trash can. One of the vineyards I was working for, they had
Still don't use the trash can, right?
We don't use the trash can that often anymore, but it actually turned out quite good. One of the vineyards I was working at, we had a section that they weren't going to pick, and they said, if you want to pick this, you're more than welcome to. So I went out there late night and picked it all into 5-gallon buckets, brought it back to the house, and handy stemmed it into a trash can, and made about 10 cases of 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, and just gave it away to friends and family, and was just floored that people liked it. Yeah, so Andy had started his first facility of his own, and that was back in 2000, and he couldn't afford to pay anybody to work for him. And so he approached me and said, if you're willing to work for me for free for this harvest, I'll let you make some wine in my space. You can sell it under my license, and I'll help you along the way. So I took him up on that opportunity. I had some money set aside to start something that was supposed to be a graphic design business, but this looked like fun. I did the math. It made a lot of sense to do it once. And so I took him up on that. I bought a ton and a half of Cabernet Sauvignon, a ton and a half of Cabernet Franc, and half a ton of Pinot Noir, and that was the
That's a good
first
amount
vintage.
of grapes.
Yeah, it was. Basically roughly 325 cases roughly, and it turned out great. And that was the beginning of the Carr label. And every year we made a little bit more. And Andy and I had that deal for several years until I got to a point where I had an individual ask me to make his wine for him. And then Andy said, all right, it's not going to work anymore. And so I still kept my relationship with Andy, and we stayed in that same spot, but I ended up having to pay him for the space and really got my brand off the ground. And during that whole time, my main business was farming.
So this has been going since 2000?
2000 was the commercial vintage, 99 was the trash can wine.
Okay. So you've been doing it for a while now.
We have now. It's incredible.
Able to buy a few more trash cans.
Yeah, there's a lot more trash cans involved now, that's for sure. But yeah, it's been quite a ride. I never expected it to get to where it is. I really enjoyed the farming side of things and thought that would be kind of my main route that I would go, and I still do that today. Basically, individuals will hire me to plant and manage their vineyards for them, and then once they start producing fruit, I'll either sell the grapes to other wineries or buy the grapes myself.
So and we were talking a little bit about comparing how people humans have this innate need to compare, and our region being a newer wine region, and starting with relationships like you had with Andy, and so many winemakers have similar stories like that, where somebody else kind of took them under their wing and they started making wine in their facility and kind of learned from each other, but also taken what we've learned from regions that have been doing this for generations.
Yeah,
and then making it our own. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly, yeah. We are very young in the industry. California in general, not even Santa Barbara.
Right.
Santa Barbara is a very new, because we've just recently started to grow in the last 20 years. But winemaking in California in the United States is still very young in the grand scheme of things. The French and the Italian, they've been doing it so much longer than us. So we have no choice but to look to them for inspiration and advice. Now, with that said, this is not Italy, this is not France. So we have to develop our own techniques and our own styles and our own knowledge over the years. And it's definitely happening. You can see Santa Barbara with all these sub-appellations that are coming up and our basic understanding as to what our environment can do. Santa Barbara is such a special place, and without the influence of Burgundy, we wouldn't know that Santa Rita Hills is perfect for the Burgundy varietals, and without the influence of the Rhone, we wouldn't know that Ballard Canyon is where we should be growing the Rhone varietals. And same thing for Happy Canyon for the Bordeaux. And I mean, it's incredible what we can do in such a small area of California.
And I think that's what sets Santa Barbara County apart from Napa. Everyone looks for Napa for their cabs, but Santa Barbara County can do all these different wines. And from a marketing standpoint, it's really challenging because the general public or people in New York or LA don't know, we really can do all these things because our region is so
and you asked me
unique.
What sets me apart from the others. I mean, that's one of the things too. Because I'm growing grapes in so many different areas, it allows me to make so many different varietals. So we've got Pinot Gris from basically Santa Rita Hills, Turner Vineyard, Sangiovese, center of San Ynez, the new appellation, the Los Olivos district, and then we have a Syrah. This is our Santa Barbara County Syrah, and that's actually a blend of 3 different growing regions. And then we make Pinot Noir as well, and we make Cabernet Franc. And so we've got all these different varietals that we're making in all these different areas, and I'm not tied to one location. I don't have the big chateau and the 100 acre vineyard that I'm growing 3 varietals in. I've got the entire county that I'm playing with.
It must be interesting to see.
It's incredible.
The different areas and
like
how
I said, the fun part of farming is to grow in Santa Rita Hills and Happy Canyon at the same time, and to know and see the differences between those areas and how they ripen and what they need. It's incredible. There's no doubt.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for coming and featuring your wines throughout the month. We're going to have them by the glass. We're going to have a tasting flight available, and of course by the bottle. They're all going to be offered at 20% off, so it's a great way to experience these wines and taste them and see which ones you like. And they'll be 20% off both in the store at the Wine Merchant and online at winemerchantcafe.com.